in Mago Reddit. Today's story is...
My wife started going to therapy and became unrecognizable. When she asked me for an open marriage, I made a devastating decision that changed everything. Greetings to all. I'm Garrett, I'm 41 years old, and lately I've been facing difficult situations. About a year ago, my wife Clarissa, 39, started going to therapy. During the pandemic she lost her job and subsequently faced many difficulties in finding a new one. Eventually she got a job, although it wasn't ideal, and due to all the accumulated stress, she told me about her desire to consult a therapist, a decision with which I completely agreed. I tried to give her all my support, but I felt like there was not much more I could do. At first everything seemed to be going well, but then I noticed that Clarissa began to change considerably. She started to establish new rules for the house and for our children. She began to monitor our children's phones and to control our daughter's clothing. She threw away a lot of food and practically forced us to adopt a specific eating plan. And when we all refused, she flew into a rage. I'm not talking about simple changes like reducing processed food or setting reasonable limits on the use of electronic devices. No. It was as if from one day to the next she had become a completely different person with a totally different parenting style. And none of us had any say in these decisions. She went from being a relaxed mother to having a whole manual of rules about how our home should function. For example, she banned sugar completely, no sweets, no desserts, no soft drinks, absolutely nothing. She even went through the whole pantry and threw away anything with added sugar on the label, which included things like ketchup, cereals, and even some types of bread. The children were really upset. Our little Lily, 10, cried inconsolably when she saw her Halloween sweets in the bin. Our eldest daughter, Emma, 14, was furious and started hiding snacks in her room. And when Clarissa found them, she grounded her for a week and made her write an essay about the dangers of sugar addiction. Then she implemented this rule of no technology after 7 p.m., which on the surface doesn't sound so bad, right? Except that she included absolutely everything in this restriction: television, telephones, even computers for schoolwork. Emma, who has online assignments, was literally getting into trouble at school for not turning in her work on time. And when I tried to talk to Clarissa about it, she just kept repeating, "Young people today are too obsessed with screens and I'm breaking that cycle." She also started to impose this rule of not sitting down unless it was absolutely necessary. I'm not exaggerating. She read some article about how sitting for long periods is bad for your health, and suddenly we all had to stand as much as possible. The children ended up exhausted and I was just confused. He decided that our house should be a natural living environment, which apparently meant keeping the temperature at 13 degrees Celsius in winter and 27 degrees Celsius in summer. He claimed that we should adapt to the seasons as our ancestors did. The children shivered constantly and I had to secretly adjust the thermostat during the night because I could literally see my breath in our own living room. He caught me once and accused me of undermining the family's resilience. He had seen some documentary about reducing clutter and suddenly he was on a mission to free us from materialism. He started getting rid of our belongings, not his, but ours. The children's toys, books, clothes, they just disappeared. Emma lost her entire graphic novel collection and Lily's favorite stuffed animal was donated without permission. I had to search through the donations to get some things back. When I confronted her, she said we were too attached to material things and that it was for our own benefit. And worst of all, she started to dictate what emotions were allowed in the house. She became obsessed with the idea that negative energy was bad for our mental health. So if the children were affected by anything, be it school, friends, or, of course, their mother getting rid of their belongings, she would tell them that they were not allowed to feel sad. She literally forbade crying. "Crying only adds to your problems," she said. "You have 5 minutes to be upset and then you have to move on." I tried to explain to her that emotions don't work that way, but she was convinced she was teaching them resilience. At one point even the family dog was left unprotected. We have a Labrador, Buddy, who loves his dog bed. She decided he should sleep naturally and took his bed away, forcing him to sleep on the wooden floor. She also changed his diet to a kind of raw food diet that made him sick. When I pointed out that Buddy was vomiting, she accused me of being resistant to change. But then things got worse because he started questioning our marriage. We got married when we were very young. I was 24. She was 22 and at the time we were just two young people with no resources trying to find our way. We were deeply in love. The kind of love where you spend all night talking, sharing silly jokes and thinking that you will be together forever no matter what obstacles come your way. And for a long time we were happy. We built a life, had 2 wonderful daughters and went through all the ups and downs of marriage like any other couple. But lately I feel like she's rewriting our whole story. She constantly mentions how she never got to find herself because we settled down so early. How she missed out on experiences because she was too busy being a wife and mother. And look, I get it. Life didn't exactly give us much time to be young and carefree, but it's like she suddenly resents all of that. She talks about how she wonders what life would have been like if she had traveled more, met more people, chosen a different career path. She even said once, "I don't know if I was ever really in love with you or if I just thought I was because I was young and naive." That really hurt. Now she nags me over the most insignificant things, like if I forget to put away my shoes or if I don't load the dishwasher exactly the way she likes it. She launches into a whole tirade about how I never listen to her, how I'm selfish, how I've never really seen her for who she is. It's like I can't do anything right anymore. And then there's the issue of the comments about my body. I've always been a big man, not extremely overweight, just with a dad bod, I guess, and she never seemed to mind before. But now she constantly makes little remarks, calling me lazy if I sit down to watch TV, telling me I should take better care of myself. Once I helped myself to a second helping of dinner and she just stared at me and said, "Are you sure you need that? I mean, I'm not even out of shape, I just don't have defined muscles," but suddenly she acts like I'm some disgusting mass in need of an intervention. She has changed in so many ways. She used to be fun, playful, full of life. Now she is always tense, always searching for deeper meaning in everything. She meditates every morning and tells me I should do it too because I have negative energy. She used to enjoy watching TV series with me, eating popcorn in bed. Now she says that television is a distraction from real life and that we should spend our evenings having deep and meaningful conversations, which would be fine except that those conversations usually turn into her blaming me for how dissatisfied she feels. I don't even know how to talk to her anymore without it turning into an argument. She questions everything about our life, our house, our marriage, even our parenting. She says she's been doing all this work on herself and is realizing how much of her life has been pleasing other people instead of herself, and I'm wondering, where does that leave me? Where does that leave us? Things blew up about 2 weeks ago when she came home and told me she wants an open marriage. I was shocked, completely surprised. I thought maybe she was joking at first because where did that idea come from? But no, she was completely serious. She sat down with me, calm and collected, and said something like, "I think we should open up our marriage. I need to explore who I really am." I just stared at her and didn't even know how to respond. I asked her what was going on, why we were having this conversation. And she just sighed as if I were an uninformed naive and said, "I've been thinking a lot and I realized that I've never had the opportunity to really live." I told her straight out that I hadn't. I explained that I wasn't interested, that I had married her because I wanted to be with her, not share her with strangers. And that was when she dropped the bombshell, "If you don't agree, I'm leaving." I can assure you, it was as if the floor had simply disappeared from under my feet. I didn't even recognize the woman sitting in front of me. This was the same person who used to hold my hand in the car for no apparent reason. The same person who used to get emotional over sentimental advertisements and take extra chips off my plate when she thought I wasn't looking. And now she's threatening to destroy our whole life as if it weren't important. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just got up, went to our bedroom, picked up a bag and started packing. She followed me, asking what I was doing. I replied, "You made your decision, now I'm making mine." She lost it and started crying, saying I was being dramatic, that I was running away instead of having an adult conversation. I told her, "You gave me an ultimatum, this is my response." I didn't want to stay there and argue about why I should accept that my wife had relations with other people, so I left. I packed some clothes, my laptop, some essentials and left. I didn't even know where I was going initially, I just needed to get away. I ended up staying at my brother's house. Now my phone won't stop ringing. She's been calling, texting, sending long messages about how I'm abandoning her and the children, how I'm a coward for running away from my responsibilities. Apparently I'm the villain now. I'm the one ruining the marriage, not her, even though she's the one who dropped this nuclear bomb on us. And here's the important thing, yes, I feel terrible. Not about leaving her, but about leaving my children in the middle of this mess. They don't deserve this. I don't even know what she's told them so far, and that's what's really affecting me deeply. I keep going over and over it in my head. Did I do the right thing by leaving? Should I have stayed and tried to fix it? But then I think, fix what? She wants to be with other people and I don't. That's not something you can compromise on. I don't know what to do next. Do I go back for my children? Do I sit down and try to talk to her again? Do I just accept that this marriage is over and start to imagine what life will be like now? Has anyone been through anything similar? Because I feel like my whole world has been turned upside down overnight. Update 1. Hi everyone, first of all, thank you for all your support. I didn't expect so many people to care about my situation, and honestly, just reading your comments made me feel less alone. I really appreciate it. After leaving, I only stayed at the hotel for one night. Although I didn't get much rest, my mind was active the whole time. Part of me was still in shock, thinking, how did we even get to this point? A year ago I was happily married, or at least I thought I was, and now my wife is basically telling me that she wants to have relationships with other people but also that she doesn't want to leave our marriage. None of this made sense. I went back home the next day. I knew I couldn't just not go back. My children were there, my life was there, and as much as I wanted to avoid another argument with Clarissa, I knew I had to face the situation. When I walked in, she barely acknowledged my presence. "No, where were you? Or are you okay?" Just silence. And honestly, that hurt. It was like I didn't even exist to her. The only time she spoke to me was through indirect comments like, "Oh, so you decided to come back. It must be nice to be able to escape when things get tough." I tried to talk to her, I really did. I told her we needed to have an honest conversation about everything. I wasn't going to pretend that nothing had happened, but she just folded her arms and said, "I'm tired of living my life to please other people." I asked her, "And what does that mean for us, for our marriage?" She shrugged and replied, "I don't know, Garrett. I just know that I'm tired of sacrificing my happiness for everyone else." I was frustrated, but I kept my cool. I said, "Look, if you want to be with other people, we should just get a divorce." She immediately rejected that idea. "No, I don't want a divorce. I'm not leaving and neither should you. That would be harmful to the children." Wow, now she's worried about what's harmful to the children. She didn't seem too concerned about that when she was tearing our marriage apart. That's when something clicked for me. None of this was normal. It wasn't just the open marriage proposal. Everything had changed so quickly, the strange rules, the sudden obsession with her own self-discovery, the way she spoke to me, the way she addressed the children. She didn't seem herself. I mean, of course, people change, but this was excessive and too sudden. So later that night, when she was in the shower, I did something I wouldn't normally do. I checked her phone. I know I shouldn't have, but I was desperate for answers. I wasn't even looking for messages from other men or anything like that. I just wanted to understand what was going on inside her. That's when I saw the name of her supposed therapist. Look, when she first told me she was going to therapy, I thought it was a good thing. I was glad she was getting help. I trusted that she was seeing a professional who knew what they were doing. But something about it didn't feel right, so I looked up the therapist's name on the internet. There was no licensed therapist by that name. No psychologist, no psychiatrist, no counselor, nothing at all. But you know what came up? An uncredentialed health and wellness coach with a dodgy website and a bunch of vague, pseudo-scientific content about finding your true self and freeing yourself from societal expectations. I did some more research and it turns out that this woman has zero credentials to be advising anyone about their mental health. No academic qualifications, no certifications, just a lot of self-proclaimed experience in helping women reclaim their power. So the next morning I asked Clarissa about it. I told her that I had seen her therapist's name and tried to look her up, but couldn't find any information. She immediately became defensive. "You went through my phone? Really?" I told her that wasn't the point. The point is that this woman is not a real therapist. She is a wellness coach with no real qualifications. And then Clarissa said something that made me realize how deeply involved she was in whatever this was. "She doesn't need a degree to help me, Garrett. She has transformed my life. She has helped many of my friends too." I just stared at her. "Are you telling me that your therapist isn't really a qualified professional?" She rolled her eyes. "She is more than a therapist. She understands things that most people don't. She sees the truth." "What does that even mean?" I said to her, "Clarissa, this woman is not qualified for this. You have changed so much since you started talking to her, and not in a positive way. It's probably the reason why everything is falling apart." She flew into a rage at me, said that I was trying to control her, that I was belittling her choices and that I had no right to question her personal growth. She kept repeating, "I am a grown woman, Garrett. I make my own decisions." I don't even know how to respond to her anymore. I feel like I'm talking to a completely different person. I want to save my marriage, I really do, but at this point I don't even know what I would be saving. She is not the woman I married. She is not the mother my children grew up with. She is someone completely different, and worst of all, she doesn't even realize it. I don't know what to do. If I push too hard, she's just going to cling to her ideas more. If I ignore her, she's going to continue down this wrong path. If I leave, my children are caught in the middle of this mess. I'm exhausted. Has anyone faced anything similar before? How do I get through to someone who doesn't want to be reached? Because at this point, I feel like I've already lost her and I don't know if I'll ever get her back. Update 2. Hi everyone. I know it's been 2 months since my last update. A lot has happened and, honestly, I needed some time to process everything before coming back here, but now that things have calmed down, at least to some extent, I wanted to share what's been happening. Clarissa officially moved out last night. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. Even after everything that's happened, seeing her pack up and leave felt unreal. This was the woman I built my life with, the mother of my children, and now she was just gone. 1 minute we were married, the next she was out the door with her bags, acting like this was just another phase in her journey of self-discovery. The decision to separate was not something that happened suddenly. There were many long and painful conversations, some calm, some heated, some where we simply remained silent because neither of us knew what else to say. I really tried to make it work. I suggested marriage counseling, although deep down I already knew she wasn't going to accept it. And, as expected, she didn't. She said she didn't need therapy because she had already discovered what she wanted. Apparently, the real problem was that I was too caught up in my old habits to accept her evolution. At one point I said to her, "Clarissa, this isn't evolution. This is you destroying everything and calling it a new beginning." She didn't like that comment. She accused me of trying to limit her, of being emotionally stagnant and many other things that I don't even want to repeat here because, honestly, they would only cause me more pain. She didn't just reject the idea of working on our marriage, she criticized me harshly in the process. She said I wasn't ambitious enough, that I had settled, that I wanted a husband who was more in tune with her, whatever that means. I understand people change, but the way she spoke to me during those last few weeks. She wasn't the woman I married. She wasn't the woman I spent almost 2 decades building a life with. She was someone different, someone cold, distant, and, honestly, somewhat cruel. And that's when I knew. I realized that I couldn't continue to cling to something that no longer existed. So I made the decision. I told her, I think it's better for the children to have happy separated parents than unhappy parents together. And just like that, the conversation ended. She agreed too easily, honestly, as if she had been waiting for me to say it so she wouldn't have to be the one to take the initiative. So we started making plans for the separation. The children would stay with me, at least for now. She said she needed time to find herself and that she didn't want to disrupt their routine until she had a more stable situation. I don't know if that was her attempt at consideration or if she simply didn't want the responsibility at the moment. Either way, I wasn't going to argue with her about it. I wanted the children to stay with me. And then last night she packed her things and left. She barely looked at me as she walked out the door. No goodbyes, no last-minute doubts. Just a quick "I'll come back later for the rest of my stuff," and then she was gone. After she left, I just sat in the living room for a while, staring into space. It was the strangest feeling, as if I were grieving for someone who was still alive. I don't even know who I was grieving for. The woman I married, the life I thought we had, the future we were supposed to build together. I don't know what the future holds, but at least now I have some kind of closure. Thank you to everyone who reached out and offered advice or just listened. It really means a lot. Update 3. Hi everyone. I really didn't think I'd be back here with another update, but surprise, surprise, things have somehow got even more complicated. I honestly thought that after Clarissa moved out, the situation would calm down. We'd broken up, we'd talked things through, we agreed that separating was the best thing for both of us and that was it, right? Wrong, because apparently Clarissa and her friends decided that simply leaving was not enough. No, they needed to destroy everything in their path. It started subtly. Some strange looks from mutual friends, some indirect posts on social media. I didn't think much of it at first. People post cryptic content all the time, anything. But then I started getting messages. Old friends, acquaintances, even some of Clarissa's family members. "Hey, I don't want to meddle in other people's business, but I saw it was posted and are you okay?" I had no idea what they were talking about, so I checked Facebook and there it was. A whole campaign against me. Clarissa and her small circle of enlightened friends who are in a process of self-discovery had apparently made it their personal mission to denigrate my name. I was controlling. I was jealous. I was obsessive. I was manipulative. There were even completely made-up stories about how I had isolated her from her friends, how I had forced her to be a housewife. She worked for years. By the way, how I had never supported her dreams. And then came the worst part. They began to portray me as abusive. Not physically, thank God, at least they weren't that bold, but emotionally, psychologically. According to their version of events, I had emotionally exhausted Clarissa, made her doubt that she was ever happy, and manipulated her into staying in a marriage that was slowly destroying her. I couldn't believe what I was reading. This was the same woman who had literally had fits when we didn't want to follow her new rules for life. The same woman who had controlled our daughter's clothing choices and forced a diet on the whole family. The same woman who had yelled at me for checking her phone after she lied about her therapist. And now I was the controller? And let's talk about her friends for a moment, because my goodness, these people need to get busy. I don't know exactly when they decided to become her personal support squad, but they haven't stopped since the separation. They comment on each of her posts, cheering her on as if she had just escaped from a cult. So proud of you, friend. You're so brave for standing up for yourself. Some people will never understand what it means to grow up. Oh, come on, it's not just online. I found out that Clarissa has been contacting people we both know, telling them these far-fetched stories. Apparently, she told someone that I used to supervise her expenses because she was financially abusive. You know what I actually did? I once asked her if maybe it wasn't a good idea to spend $400 on her juice cleanse, and suddenly I'm the villain. One of our mutual friends even told me that Clarissa got emotional when talking about how I never allowed her to be her true self, which is absurd because her true self seems to include lying blatantly and convincing people that I am some kind of malevolent manipulator. I haven't responded to any of this. I really want to. I want to prove her wrong, publish screenshots, write a detailed explanation of everything she did, but I know that would only make me look worse. So for now I'm just ignoring it. But, God, it's frustrating. The good news is that most of the people who really know me aren't buying her lies. My real friends have been very supportive. They've been visiting me, making sure I'm keeping well. And my children, they understand the situation. They've witnessed his behavior firsthand. They're not naive, but even so, this is unpleasant. I don't know what will come next, I don't know when it will end, but I sincerely hope he finds something else to focus on soon. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for all the support. It means more than you can imagine. Update 4. Hi everyone. I know it's been 3 months since my last update. Honestly, I didn't think I'd post again because nothing significant has happened, but I guess I just wanted to express myself a little, to put my thoughts down somewhere. After my last post, I followed exactly what many of you suggested. I ignored Clarissa and her small group of online supporters. I didn't get involved. I didn't respond. I didn't feed the drama and, as expected, when they didn't get a reaction from me, they eventually lost interest and got on with their lives. The children are still with me. They are coping considering all the circumstances. I think they are still processing everything that has happened, but I have been trying to make sure they feel as normal as possible. I have been more involved with their schoolwork and activities, just spending more time with them in general. It has been difficult. Being a single parent was not part of my life plan, but we are adjusting. Clarissa really hasn't made any effort to communicate with them. At first I thought maybe she just needed space, maybe she was trying to work things out before reaching out. But 3 months? That's a considerable period of time to not even check in on how they are. There are no texts, no calls, nothing at all. It's like she's just forgotten she has children. And I get it, I understand that I shouldn't be surprised. She's been immersed in this whole new life, new me phase for a while now, but I guess some part of me thought that she would at least try to be there for them. Then, a couple of weeks ago, I was browsing social media and there she was. Clarissa smiling, radiant, with some guy. They were in a cabin in the mountains, posing in front of a fireplace, wrapped in blankets like they were in a romantic movie. I won't lie, that image affected me. I know I shouldn't care, I know we're separated, I know she made it very clear that she wanted to explore life without me, but seeing her so happy, so carefree, while I'm here trying to balance work, raising children and rebuilding the fragments of our old life. Yes, it impacted me. I've loved this woman for so long. Even after everything, even after the confrontations and the accusations, and the way she just walked out, there was still a part of me that hoped. I don't know, that maybe she would recognize what she left behind. But she doesn't seem to be looking to the past at all. I will get through this, though. I will move on. I just haven't reached that point yet.